Hello everyone, it's Amy and welcome back for week 87 of the new Build Your Stash and Craft. I was requested to make paper rosettes for Christmas, and so I thought this would be the perfect week to make them because we didn't purchase anything, and this is something that we can make just with what we have in our stash. So I pulled out some scissors and the little decorative scissors, a paper punch, a hole punch, a paper punch, and then I just pulled out some colors and some stickers, flowers, and just some different things that we can use to make our rosettes and decorate our rosettes. Rosettes are really easy to make. There's a couple of tricks to them. The first trick is the wider you make your paper, the longer it has to be folded, folded, folded in order to get it to make a full rosette. So in this case, this is a half of an 8.5 by 11. So this would be 4¼ inches in width like this. And so you need this to go all the way around, right? Well, this one will go, if we hold it here, it will only open pretty much as big as a fan. There is no way that we will get that to open in a straight line. So that means that we would need, if it would open completely straight, 2 of them would make a full rosette. This one will not open completely straight, so you're going to need 3 or 4 at this width to make a full rosette. Plus, the longer your paper, or the more that you have, the fuller your rosette will be. So, you can stretch them and make them very wide, or you can put more folded papers in and make them fuller. So in order to, another trick in order to fold them quicker. Now, I've had a lot of people say that they wished they had a scoreboard for this. I've made them with a scoreboard, and I don't really honestly think that it necessarily makes it that much easier. You're scoring, then you're folding. So, it's not any quicker. So long as you're cautious when you make your folds and pretty much try and make them all the same. They're not going to be perfect. And even when I made them on my scoreboard, they weren't exactly perfect when I folded them. So, there is a little bit of a difference here as far as, how far they stick out. Once you make that rosette, nobody's going to notice if there's a little teensy bit of a difference between how wide this one is and how wide this one is. So don't worry about that. And they're actually just so much easier to do without the scoreboard as far as I'm concerned. So also, the wider that you make your I don't know if you want to call that a petal or what you want to call that. The wider you make it, the longer your paper obviously will need to be because it won't unfold as far. So, but the other easy way to do this is, so I want to make a small rosette. Remember that when you make your rosette, it's going to be twice as wide as your paper. So, do you want a rosette that is this big, or do you want a smaller rosette? If you're making them to hang up, like in a room, you may want the full width of your paper. If you're making them to put on a Christmas tree, then you may want them smaller. So if we want a rosette that's this wide, we're going to have to make this half the width. So here's the one trick that makes it a whole lot easier. When you are folding your rosettes, we're going to start with a brand new piece of paper here. And I have made this, this is probably, I don't measure, I just fold it. But let's see. This one is approximately an inch wide, okay? So, but like I said, I don't measure them. But what you're going to do is I'm going to take the full width of a piece of paper, and then I'm going to start folding it. And the biggest thing is get your first fold straight. And you want to make sure that this end and this end line up, and that kind of helps you to have a straight fold. Even though this is not quite straight here. This is also dyed paper, which makes it a little bit, when you dye it at times it can kind of stretch. So, but that's all right, because remember what I said, it doesn't need to be perfect. Nobody's going to go in there and measure. So then you're just going to turn it over and fold this edge to the edge of your fold. So you want to make sure that those are as lined up as you can possibly get them. Don't let them stick out too far, and if they start, it's easy to walk them out. This one sticks out just a little bit, the next one sticks out a little bit more, and before you know it, you're 2 inches wide. So keep an eye on it, and if you're getting too wide, you don't have to refold the whole thing if you pay attention, you know, as you're going. If you're getting a little too wide, then just tuck that fold back in just a little bit to kind of get back down to the original width that you want. So you can make it just a touch shorter than this one. If these are starting to get real wide, then start making them just a little bit shorter. And if you're paying attention right from the start, you're not going to have this great big huge difference as you're trying to make it a little bit shorter. Or if it's getting too short, make them a little bit wider. So now this is it takes a little while, and you do want to make sure that you keep it as close as you can. But this is, okay, if I was going to make this full sheet of paper into a rosette, I would need probably, I'm going to say maybe even 5 sheets of paper in order to make a rosette out of this, this whole width. Maybe only 4 sheets. And what you do then is you just connect them together when you're all done. You obviously don't have that wide of a piece of paper to start with, or long. So you just make as many as you need and then connect the papers together. But this one we're going to make a small rosette out of. So we're folding the whole length of this paper one time. Then we're going to cut it into 4 pieces. And so then we'll have 4 pieces that we can put together to make a small rosette. But we only had to fold it once. When you get to the end, you may or may not have extra paper. If you have extra paper, you can just cut it off. Now see, this is not perfect. And that's okay. And of course, you know, I always do go a little bit faster when I'm trying to get it on video. So I would probably take just a little bit more time, but that's still okay. So now we have our folds, Mountain Valley folds. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this into 4 equal pieces. So I'm just going to fold this in half. Now I'm doing this to cut it. You can measure and then cut it. For me, I'm just going to fold it in half and then cut it along that line. Because I have a hard time cutting a line like that, I'm actually going to make that sharp crease, and I'm just going to rip it. Because I don't mind the fuzzy edges. And even if you do, you can cut the edges of the rosette also to give it some extra shape. So I'm going to do that again. Give it a sharp crease and rip it. And so I'm going to have 4 of these. Now I may not need 4. I may only need 2. My folds here I think are a little wider than these folds. So I'm thinking I might need 3, because I know that this size fold, which is just a little smaller than this, I can get away with 2. But 3 will make it fuller. But now I actually, by folding that one piece all the way across, I now have 4 lengths of accordion paper. And so that just, if I were to have sat here and folded all 4 of these individually, it would have taken me a lot longer than just, doing it once and then cutting them or ripping them into 4 equal size pieces. And now this width, your up and down, you do want those to be about the same. So if you have one that's too long, use your scissors, just hold them next to each other, use your scissors and just snip them all to about the same width this way. Okay, there we go. So now we have 4 pieces. So let's see how many we're actually going to need. So we're going to fold them back up. And we know for sure, now let's see, because my last one, when I unfolded it this way, see now that I can get to go straight across. And so if it will go straight across, you can use 2 pieces. But if I use 3, it will be fuller. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to use 3. But to start with, I want to decorate up my edges a little bit. The outside edges of, now you may want just the perfectly round rosette, then you don't do anything. But if you want to maybe make your rosette fancier, you can use your hole punch and punch a hole, and you could even punch a few holes in there. You don't want to make it too flimsy, so that it, rips when you're trying to accordion or, like open it up. I want this to be in the same spot, so I'm going to kind of hold this up here, just so they're about the same. Let's grab a pencil. So just, you could eyeball it. You don't have to do that. You can measure it so that it's perfect. But I'm just going to do it like that. And I'm going to do 3 rosettes. I'm going to skip this one because that's the ripped one. And so I'm going to do 3 pieces of paper just to make my rosette fuller. Okay, I'm going to take this one. There we go. Whenever you're measuring something like this, always use the same one as your template. Because if you use this one and move it just a little bit down, and then you use the next to make your punch in this one, and then that one you use that as your template, and you move it a little bit down, eventually your holes are going to be way off. So always use the same template whenever you're doing something like this. It will keep you closer. Not necessarily perfect, but closer. Okay, so now we have just a little bit of decoration that's going to be on the end of our petals. And I also like to kind of shape the end of my petals. So you could do a pointy petal. You can do a rounded petal. So we'll just kind of do a bit of a rounded one. And that's not perfect, but that's all right with me. Just going to start here. And one more. And again, you can kind of measure down a little bit or draw them out a little bit to make them a little more even. All right, so now we have our 3 little pieces to the rosette. How to put them together? You just use a little bit of glue. And you're going to take one of your mountains and one of your valleys, and you're just going to put them together like this and glue them together. So we're just going to take that, spread it out a little bit. And put this one on here. Rosettes do work better. They look nicer if you have a piece of paper that is colored on both sides. Because you're going to see both sides when they hang, no matter where they hang. So if you use a piece of colored paper on both sides, that just makes it a little bit prettier. So now what you can do, because we know that 2 will be enough, you could take these 2 sides and put them together like this. Then you're going to gather that just like that. So kind of like in a circle like that. And then you're going to gather the center, push it together, and you're going to use something to hold that together. And that's what, that's what it would have looked like. This is your gaps. But if we put another one on there, And if you have two valleys or two mountains, like these would be, you can just fit them right inside each other, or you can cut one off so that it just goes down to the middle. But before I glue that together, I do want to see how it's going to look. I want to make sure it's not too full, so I'm just going to kind of hold it around. I don't know if you really can have too full. Okay, I think that's going to look nice. Whoops, I have glue all over there, so I don't know what I did with the lid. I always lose the, oh, there it is. I always lose the lid. Right, so I'm just going to put some glue on here. And if you use your tacky glue and you use it thin. Sorry about the cutoff. My alarm just went off. I have to get ready for work, but I'll see if I can hook these together. Maybe I'll just put it up in two parts. You're going to get two parts. We're going to put these together. The tacky glue, if you put it on there thin, that's what I was saying. It holds really quickly with just regular paper. So there we go. Now we are going to take these two and put them together in a circle. And I am going to cut one of these off, because otherwise, if you're going to put them together as a V, you would need to glue this one and this one. So I'm just going to do it like this so that I can just put them together and just glue one piece instead of two. Okay, so these are going to go together like this. And you just want to kind of make sure that you have them, oops, straight with the folds. Well, that tacky glue grabbed really fast and it's not lined up. I'm even going to line up my bottom and line up the hole. There we go. So now we have what looks like that. And then we're going to push that down. Get all of your folds. I have to get this glue off my hand here. Okay. And you're going to want to be careful about where you've got it glued, not to get it to stick to what's right next to it. I'm just going to kind of squunch it all together. And then just push it out like that. And pull your center back together. And now we have a really full flower. Now you're going to want to glue it together. And so the easiest way to do that is to just have a circle to put underneath. And then put a little bit of glue on it. And you just want to have the whole thing covered so that it holds all the way out to the edge, so the edges don't start curling in or anything. Because it doesn't have a lot of place to grab, because it's going to grab on the mountaintops of your flower. Or your rosette. Well, I guess that is a flower, isn't it? Okay. So we've got that. You want that ready, actually, before you get yourself all set the way you want it. You're going to push it together. Bring it together in the center like that. Hold on to it. And then put your glue paper right on there. And then before it holds too heavily, you are going to just kind of make sure that it looks like you've got it about as even as you want it. Because you can still move it just a little bit while your glue is starting to hold. Okay, and that looks pretty good. So then I'm going to take something that's not super heavy, because I don't want to crush my rosette. And I'm going to set that right on top of there just to hold it just for a little bit while it dries. Or while it dries, not why. Alrighty, so there we go. Then once you have your rosette made, usually I will put the circle on both sides. It makes it even sturdier than just putting it on one side. So I'll do one, let it sit for just a little bit, flip it over, and put another one on the other side. And so I'm going to kind of, and I don't really need to, I was going to trace it so it's the same. The thing is about going from one side to the other is, you're not going to see both sides at the same time. So they don't need to be exact. They don't even have to be the same color. You know, you could have some paper that's one color on one side and another color on the other. When you're cutting a circle, it's easy to cut a circle if you start with a square. Start in the center of the square and look to the center of the next edge. Then look to the center of the next edge, and then look here, and then look here. And I didn't actually start in the center, but I should have. Well, this wasn't quite a square either. But yeah, if you just look towards the center, that's where you want to go to. And then look towards the center, and that's where you want to go to. And now, because I started off the edge, I'm going to just kind of keep going. But that is a way to make a halfway decent circle, is to start with a square. So now I have the circle for the other side, and I'm just going to set that there. And I'll show you one that I made here already. And see, this one, I used a paper punch to hold it together because that's my decoration. On this one, I'll decorate it on top of my circle. And I have one on both sides. And again, here's double-sided paper. It was green on one side and it was red on the other. And so now I have, and this one has like little pointy edges instead of rounded edges. So they're just really fun to play with. And like I said, you could maybe even put another hole here. You can use your yarn or threads to weave through the little holes here. You can put a piece of yarn through a couple of the holes and bring it up to make a hanger to hang it on the Christmas tree or wherever you'd like to hang it. So, and again, the wider your paper is, the wider your rosette will be. This rosette would wind up being as wide as a full sheet of paper. So these ones were half the size. So once we made the rosette, see, that's as wide as the half a piece of paper. And other things that you can do is, I used my glitter nail polish to put nail polish on this flower. And so it's pretty and sparkly. See if that's kind of dry. And that's what I'm going to put on the center here with a little piece of our bling right in the center of that one. And so see, that's wanting to curl back up again. And that's why I like to do something on both sides to make sure that it holds well. And that's probably, you know, that's how I've always done it. I'm sure that's the way I was taught to do it. So, because I'm sure, you know, like if you look at this and that's popping up like that, obviously that wouldn't be the right way to just have one piece. But again, the tacky glue, if it ever comes out of your bottle, is pretty sticky, and you don't have to make it super thick, so long as you can get it to come out. You just want to make sure you do get those edges too, and that will hold out here, and it'll hold in your center also. Get a good amount in the center because that's where your heaviest amount, you know, it's pretty solid right there in the center, whereas out here it's only touching on those lines. There we go. So we'll take that one and put it on there. Kind of make sure I have it in the middle. And then that one is going to look like that when it's done, with some pretty bling right in the center. So they're super easy to make. They take a little bit of time, but again, crafting is supposed to be to kind of get away. It's to just help you do something to forget whatever's going on at that point in time and just lose yourself in it. So don't worry about how long it takes. And they are very pretty. So they make nice little Christmas gifts. And what was I going to say? I don't remember. But again, you can make them in any size that you want to. I don't use the big ones. You know, I don't use, this one would be like this big around. I really don't use those. They make really nice to hang from the ceiling, you know, hang in some kind of a swag or something, but I just don't do that. So, but the easiest way to do it is to fold the full width of a piece of paper. And this one right here, now I will cut this one in half and it will make another rosette. So, you know, you can make 2 rosettes out of one 8.5 by 11 paper, but you only have to fold it one time if you fold it before you cut it. And so that is one of the best tips that I can give you is fold first, then make it the width that you want it, and you'll wind up with more pieces of paper folded very quickly. So thank you. Oh, look, this would look really nice. Maybe I'll put one of these butterflies on the center of this one. I think that I will, because I think that that will be really pretty too. So, but thank you very much for stopping by. I really do appreciate each and every one of you. Have a happy Thanksgiving, and I hope that you all have an outstanding day. Bye-bye.